Well, it's 2 p.m. Central African Time. A very good afternoon to you. Happy last day of the Easter holidays. If you're home watching us, enjoying your last day of the holidays, welcome to the program. Today is many things. It's also the last day of, rather it's a day of honoring, a day of recognizing that we should put down tobacco. So if you do smoke tobacco, it's one of those days where you are reminded that it's not good for your health. It's also April Fool's Day, but we're not going to focus on that. It's a delight to have you join us on Market View with me, Sifiso Ngumal. And as always, I will ask that you stay with me over the next half an hour as we look at some of the developments happening around the nation's economy and how they feed into the overall sustainable economic growth of the country. Today, we look at what government is doing to ensure that she implements financial reforms to address some of the fiscal challenges like the misallocation of funds, amongst other many challenges faced by government. Finance Minister Neil Reichenbach will explain all the processes, and then we will discuss with our business journalist Nelson Ndlangamandla. We will wrap things up with an analysis of the financial markets of the day, particularly the Asian markets, because all the other markets are closed. We'll discuss all of that with our economist, Sanele Sibia. But for now, let's start the show with today's business news. The Minister of Finance, Neil Reichenbach, says the Mkonvo-Ngwavuma water augmentation project will make Lavumisa and surrounding areas as a hive of business, giving an opportunity for commercial trade to different sectors of society. Now, the minister said this when detailing the importance of the project, stating that about 100,000 people will benefit from the different irrigation schemes after this project has been completed.
Parliament approved the 1 billion emalangeni loan that government wants to source from the African Development Bank for the Mkonvo-Ngwavuma water project. We asked the Minister for Finance, Neil Reichenbach, how this project will benefit Eswatini.
We're first building the Mpageni Dam. That dam then has a canal virtually, even though this is mainly a pipe. Normally we build canals. This is a big pipe, 2 meters wide, so you can walk down that pipe without bending over, just to give you a picture of what it looks like. And that is then going to irrigate a huge area in the Lavumisa area. So this dam will be able to irrigate about 7,000 hectares. In time, we're going to build another dam, Eswatini, which is now in a different escarpment. So we'll have to go under the mountain with a tunnel under Hlatikulu, so that we can put the water into the river that flows into the Mpageni Dam and support. That'll then take the irrigation up to about 25,000 hectares in the Lavumisa area. Lavumisa area has got probably the best soils in this country. It's our most poverty-stricken area in the country, and the benefits that are going to flow to those people are really going to be massive. The job creation, the numbers are showing us that about 100,000 people are going to benefit from this scheme. Not the construction, the ultimate irrigation schemes that will be taking place down there. Industry, we're going to make sure that whatever's happening down there has got a possibility of agro-processing industry, industrial zones, even in time a new city coming up in that area.
The upcoming Mkonvo-Ngwavuma project is designed to benefit over 100,000 Eswatini, covering a total area of 30,000 hectares. In addition, about 10,000 job opportunities will be created. For Market View, Nelson Ndlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Ezulwini.
Women in Trade and Development is considering establishing a new generation cooperative to help women ensure that whatever they make in their businesses is invested in production, marketing, as well as distribution. This was said by the director, Sebenzile Dlamini, when explaining what they are doing to help women and girls venture into sustainable businesses.
As Women in Trade and Development, we have realized that the one way we could use to sort of limit the challenges that the women face is introducing a new generation type of cooperative. So this cooperative is one that can make the women understand that whatever equity they inject into the cooperative is meant to support production as a collective and support the creation of a brand and marketing strategy that will support all the enterprises. we also want to ensure that the women understand that whatever they generate through the cooperative should be invested. Now, that is a really high standard for a majority of the women who essentially need income to cover their basic needs. So the model that we want to employ going forward, which they have agreed to, is one that will enable the businesses that are already formalized at the least with a trading license to be the first members of the cooperative. And then the other members will support these sole traders and businesses so that we keep all the women in this one network of production, marketing, and distribution. For distribution, we have realized that they live in terrains that are really difficult to travel on. And, we would have to have specialized motor vehicles for some of the produce so that we prevent contamination and also ensure that the goods are delivered on time at the production or processing facilities. So it would be easier for a cooperative to buy a motor vehicle than to expect all the women to have motor vehicles to support, distribution. We are also learning that some of them have never been to school. So the financial management standards that they need to adhere to have, globally accepted standards and principles that no matter how much we can train these women, the least that they can do is just generate the daily cash coming in and cash out of their businesses. They would not be able to process the accounts receivables and payables according to the standard that we expect them to, because they don't have computers. A lot of financial data is best managed through computers. So that is why we now need to have a program or approach that integrates the rural women with youth that also have the skills.
That's our news. We go for a net break. We return with Nelson and Langamanda, our business journalist, as we look at the fiscal processes that the Ministry of Finance wants to take in addressing some of the challenges that they face.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Sabadani ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sithi khulumeni.
Welcome back. In the next 18 months, government hopes to have completed all processes that will lead to the start of new financial reforms, as well as to curb misallocation of funds, amongst other challenges that are faced by government. And this was said by Finance Minister Neil Reichenberg, stating that this will help government manage funds easier and in a transparent manner.
Auditor General continues to find misalignment of funds, mismanagement of funds within government on an annual basis, and I even see this year his report is slightly thicker even than normal. But most of the findings are based on misallocation of funds within the ministries, totals being wrong, totals not balancing, credits not balancing with debits within the financial system. Our financial system is old and does need fixing. And so most of the issues raised when it comes to the Ministry of Finance and Treasury are definitely more misalignments than actually corruption or anything like that. If it's any way corruption, we deal with it very, very quickly because we try and root that out very, very fast within But so what we are doing as a Minister of Finance, we are putting in an integrated financial management system, what we refer to as IFMAS. We've identified our partner to handhold us and assist us through this, being the Rwanda Cooperation company, which is based in Rwanda, and they'll be doing it with us as Eswatini. We have it budgeted for, the MOU was signed, the agreement has now been signed, and we're kicking off. And so we're really hoping within 18 months that this will all be neatened up, tidied up, and our set of accounts should look very different going forward from that point onwards. When it comes to actual cash management, so there's a difference between accounting errors and actual cash management. Cash management is very tight. Now again, I'm not saying there aren't any loopholes for abuse. Where we do find them, we jump on them very quickly and make sure we deal with them. But the systems are definitely in place to make sure that by the time government spends any money, it's been through a full tender process, it's been ordered, it's been double checked, it's gone through the checking section at Treasury, and then only do we pay. This will just be able to improve on the management thereof.
Finance Minister Neil Reichenberg speaking on some of the fiscal challenges that government of Eswatini continues to face. But the good news is they are looking at some of the reforms that can quickly address these challenges. But let's talk to our business journalist, Nelson Wendangamandla. The Finance Minister is saying something that, concerns me a little bit. He's saying that the report this time around came back a bit thicker compared to the previous years. And yet, we were still celebrating some of the fiscal, I'd say, victories that we've had. But similarly, it looks like we've had an equal share of challenges. What are some of the most pressing challenges that we have faced fiscally?
Indzaba lenkulu nasibuka ireport ya Auditor General ngoba ngiko lokusukumise phasi ukuthi asesive ukuthi indvuna ithi itawuqinisekisa kanjani ukuthi le mali kuba bede le misallocation ukhanze ukuthi sometimes imali ukhanza ukuthi le mali iyasetshenziswa kulamatiko but sekude lokurekhodeka kwekuthi le mali isebente kanjena noma kukhona nasakufuna Auditor General. I'll make an example nje lapho khona athi kunabo undisclosed bank balances laba over 489 million. Ukhanza ukuthi leti mfo nakasekafuna ukuthi okay nendeni ngale mali sebayaphuta kumniketa noma sekude kahle lokuthi phela sigrekhodile kule system ya hulumende.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering the biggest threat, obviously one of the biggest threats being the misallocation of funds. How, yes, he's saying they're looking into some of the reforms that will address these issues. We've seen some headlines regarding, I won't, single out any ministries, but we have seen some of those headlines where a certain ministry will be singled out and that headline will be shocking, with regards to that misallocation of funds. How will they address this, Nelson? I think this should be one of the easiest things to address, but yet it's still happening.
Mangibuka ireport ya Auditor General engidawukhuluma nje ngaloko kwaphuma bo social welfare ukuthi kunemali mhlambe lebeyimele iholele bamfla abadzala lengangabo over 640 million lapho khona le mali ingabonakali. Nangibuka it dates back to bo 2010 khanze ukuthi le mali solo mhlawumbe iya accumulator ke kepha ke now nayichaza indvuna ithi vele banayo le system le in-house labayisebenzisako leqinisekisa ukuthi even bo procurement kuyabukwa lokho ukuthi kwentiwa kanjani. So it's an issue that government is working on. Corruption has been there for a long time, but siyambona hulumende kulamalanga ukuthi usukumile uyayisebenta indzaba ye corruption, uyayisebenta nendzaba yokuthi imali takhe hulumende diphathwe kahle.
It's going to be interesting. Budget Pastor Nelson, but yes. Before we get into that conversation, let's listen to the Finance Minister speaking on that very same subject.
It was probably one of the least contested, if I can maybe use that word, budgets in my term so far. It was passed by Parliament, which means it's now been through the House of Assembly and the House of Senate, and the House of Assembly has heard communication back from Senate. So it's fully through Parliament at this stage. And it went very well. I mean, it was no funding was moved to hit 60 or nothing was rejected. It managed to pass both houses. Again, I really believe with it being a higher budget than normal, almost 3 billion more than the year that we are in as we sit here, it really should start meaning that eMaSwati out there will start feeling the impact of a higher budget spend. The year that we are in, went up with almost 3 billion, and the year that we are going into, another 3 billion increase. So those increases should start now having an impact on household expenditure in the country. It's a slow process, unfortunately, but it should start getting that through. So no, the budget being passed is a big relief and is a big deal for us as the Ministry of Finance. A huge amount of work goes into the budget.
The budget has passed. He's also speaking to it. That's the Finance Minister, Nelson. I think this is one of the things that has excited us, Silivela Angwane, especially when, sisibona indlela lamafa labiwe ngakhona. There was a lot of excitement. Is it going to be enough to address, the challenges that we face? The biggest one being corruption. I would say it's still corruption because of the effects that it renders into overpricing and, bese maswati akasakhoni ukuphila kahle. What does this tell us?
Ngicabanga ukuthi indvuna ilekshido kwekuthi kude mhlawumbe litiko lelifike lasho ukuthi hayi no thina siyabonga ibudget yethu ibe yinhle kakhulu. Uthi nje minister, we tried ukuthi send a sector wide approach even when addressing issues ebamflabasha. Bamflabasha sike sababona bakhala iNYC ngekuthi imali labayitholile incane, but kunabo education maningi lama sectors labukiwe. Endzabeni yabo corruption, we have seen Eswatini Public Procurement Agency yenda i-price catalog lapho khona seyetama kulesikhathi lesikweke ukuthi ngeke inyalo usa overprice because sekustipulated ukuthi le timfo letithengwa nguhulumende kakhulu vele ngeke usati overprice ngoba sekunale range ukuthi utawuthenga uthengise kanje.
Yeah. I want us to circle back into indzaba misallocation of funds. Sisiphinze sibuke nje nayo lendzaba ekuphasa kwayo ibudget ukuthi uyabona lamakonvane, as he referred to them as amakonvane sibayena. I remember very well ukuthi abasadli nale product la kulamabhokisi sekadla lamabhokisi. Indzaba corruption, how will it be addressed? I mean, from a national level? We've seen the Corruption Commission, there's been some complaints regarding, if they are really competent or they are really doing their jobs proficiently in the past, but kuvetwelwe ukuthi nyalo kufuna kufakelwe kubuko imisebenzi labayendako kube bede inkohlakalo letawuba khona. Engabe kutaba mcwanga kanani ukuthi nangemambala vele bahambe ngalonyawo lolo?
It is very important. Lesikubona kakhulu kule Auditor General's report kwekuthi ngile misallocation of funds akusabikwanga ini sekunemali lengakabikwa lokho ke seku incubator ini sekutawu incubator yona vele i-corruption nangabe siyakhona nje kuthenga nase athi Auditor General lethani phela na letiliphu lethani ngesikhathi asisalethi so hulumende kufanele aqinisekise kwekuthi uyakuvala lokho kwekuthi nakafuna Auditor General i-auditor bavele bamnikede masinya. You must remember, sifisa ukuthi sinabo African Development Bank, sinabo World Bank labasiboleka imali. So the fiscal discipline is very important at this time ukuthi le mali ibe accounted for. Singaveli nje silive lapho khona sekuthiwa ayi ngathi kunema misstatements asikakhoni kureporta kahle kuye Auditor General. So it is very important. I believe ukuthi hulumende is actually doing a lot to curb corruption with everything. Nabo SPPRA sebabuka indlela tebuchwephesha tekuthi how can we tender sebaya advertise so that everyone atoba ne platform lekahle kwekuthi nangabe kune tender nami ngiyayati everyone knows about it lokuthi winwe ngubani everyone knows about it.
The biggest thing, in fact, the biggest conversation around misallocation of funds is how it then affects, it allows for some of the resources, divert from agasacitic infrastructure, when we have a lot of big infrastructure projects in the country that should be completed by now, that could generate us a lot of money. But not just the infrastructure, as well as the social service. And I think that is, for me, personally, I would say the heart of everything. The social services need to be intact. But what we see is, once misallocation of funds, corruption, they always suffer, these services as well as the infrastructure. Let's talk about the importance of social services first and foremost, and then sisithinza kancane nenzaba infrastructure. Ekuthenini leti mali nathi ngatsinva lama projects ethu lawa on the social side as well on the infrastructure side abamcoka kangakanani.
Kumcoka kakhulu lokuthi leti mali like the monies should go to the projects la budgeted for dona.
Right.
Ngakhanzakali ukuthi sekunanaku la kubita auditor general nge-unauthorized expenditure ngoba kulesinye isikhathi lesikubonako lengubonile kule report kwekuthi le unauthorized expenditure ukhanza ukuthi mhlambe litiko seliva ngathi ayiman kune project le asithathe le mali ngalana thambe siyifake kule project lengalana so ukhanza ukuthi lena seyiyasafarisha so lokumcokwa kuba ngilokuthi leti mali disebende kulama services ngoba ukhanza ukuthi sive mhlawumbe sekungiso lesitawu sokola so ukhanza ukuthi setifakwe kuletinye tindzawo timali lokunye auditor general that he has flagged on his report kwekuthi kumcoka lokuthi timali atisetshenziswe kuloku leti budgetele kona ngakhanzakali setishiftiwe ematiko.
Yeah, nakuthi nje nganangana noma ke locking system nangabe ngi200,000 ayingabe seseyiba ngi2 million lokho kusivetela inkhohlakalo lenkulu kusivetela ke nekubade nje liciniso empeleni siyakukhuta naloko ngoba just like you've highlighted kube sekulimala tinhlangothi letiningi infrastructure developments and our social services developments asibahlo at market. We look at the Asian markets today on our financial analysis with economist Sanele Sbi after the break.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7 hash. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Ujala masoda mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabadali ukuthi njengalokhu
Sivile sive sitikhulumeni.
After who. Welcome back to the program. We're about to wrap up the program with our market analysis segment. We welcome Mr. Eswatini virtually to further develop this discussion, looking at particularly the Asian markets today as the other markets are closed. Mr. Eswatini, I'm just trying to look at these indexes online, and I'm realizing that a lot of them are on the green today, except for Nikkei.
Yes, yes. So what we are seeing there is in Shanghai, market data came back this week, and itshengisile ukuthi producers in mainland China are actually more optimistic, and they're showing a bit of optimism in the market, so they are purchasing and investing a bit more. Whilst when you go to Japan, that's where we see the Nikkei, you will see that the data that just recently came out from the Bank of Japan, the very same index that looks at the optimism of consumer producers, shows that, the Japanese producers have somehow taken a step back in terms of where the markets are going. But that is not surprising, Mr. Ngumalo, considering ukuthi Japan recently came out of their negative exchange rate, their negative interest rate territory in just a couple of weeks back. So what that then did was it had an effect that we didn't really intend to see in the market, such that we saw the Japanese yen selling off against quite a number of major currencies. So that weakening in the currency and every other thing, imarket istaza makubuka lapho eJapan ukuthi ngabe kutawuhamba kanjani. But now ngabe uyabuka ngale eChina, all the policies that were being put in place to just try and show up production in the Chinese markets, that one seems to be working in mainland China.
Yeah.
So that's why we're seeing that type of concordancy between Japan and then what we are seeing in Beijing compared to also what we are seeing in Hong Kong.
Makes me wonder, if you look at what is happening in South Asia, in India in particular, I wonder how much it affects the Asian market, their benchmark indexes that clocked record highs in the first session of fiscal year 2025. They are saying that it was led by a surge in metal companies after upbeat data from top consumer China. Does it really affect all the numbers that we are seeing today?
Yes, it does, because now, Mr. Ngumalo, you will see that the Asian growth story right now is somehow tethering between China and India. Markets know that China might not grow with the 5% that we are expecting, but there's that strong growth coming through the Indian markets. So that one tends to show up lama in major indices that we are seeing in the region. And what that also does is it just somehow creates a diversity in terms of the instruments that are available in the region, such that we are seeing companies moving from one end to the other, just trying to make sure that they can get to where their capital can be much used. And we are seeing China trying to also play into that by really competing and coming up with policies that make it easier for producers to produce in China, while at the same time trying to show up consumer expectations within the mainland itself. But when we are looking across the Greater Asia region, you will see that consumer sentiments do remain a bit upbeat on the trend, so that tends to have an impact on the main Asian markets. And as China is the world's what you call it, it's the world's manufacturer.
Yeah, and certainly if there's a surge in metal companies in India, that is good competition there in Asia, I suppose, and I hope it would factor in best for the rest of the world in terms of the price of metal, wouldn't it?
That's what you would expect, yes, in the short to medium term. That is what we would expect. I would say we should start seeing precious metals actually gaining a bit of ground. That's what we'd expect in terms of steel in the short to medium term, to gain a bit of ground on that front, considering those movements, considering that India in itself is considered a minor continent, the subcontinent of India, looking at the demand and everything that can come through there.
It's going to be interesting. Mr. Eswatini, Hopefully, we look at every market tomorrow. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our program of today. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sibia. Siphinza sibonga nawe Ngwelo Muhle kusibukela ehlelweni Market View. It's the first one of April. You have a couple more this April that you'll be spoiled by. Asivalelise ke nalo muhla sithimile usuku loluhle. Bye bye.